So this dog is laughing because this dog is literally telling me, you're the leader, but I'm in charge. So it's like he may do, how do you want me to say this? He may do what you want him to, but part of the time you're doing what he shows you to do. And the other dog just doesn't care. That's one of the reasons I'm not really registering him, because he doesn't care. He's just like, I'm going to go do my own thing. And this one, he's the real alpha. This is the alpha.
I would say that, yeah, that makes more sense. Right.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. Do us a quick favor and hit follow and smash that like or subscribe button wherever you're listening right now. It'll help us keep getting great guests and make it so you don't miss the next episode. Now on with the show. Welcome to Splintered Spirits. I'm your host, Gary, along with John Santa from Santa Paranormal, where we try to answer the question, what are spirits? Tonight's guest is animal psychic, medium, and realm walker Angel Morgan. Angel's journey started as a full-on skeptic on a Guatemalan mountainside before a medicine man told her she'd one day speak with animals. And a turtle in an animal communications class unexpectedly proved him right in startling detail. Since then, she's spent years communicating with animals on 4 levels: mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual, working with pets here and on the other side, moving through the Akashic rooms within rooms, and collaborating with nature spirits, gods, and goddesses to help people understand their animals, themselves, and the unseen worlds woven through both. In this episode, we dig into how animal communication actually feels from the inside, how animals interact with the paranormal and their humans, and how those experiences reshape Angel's own answer to our core question: when she's talking to an animal or any spirit, what does she think she's really talking to? She also gives my 2 dogs a quick read. That's right, they make their appearance on the show. To learn more about her work or book a session, visit angelmorganpetpsychic.com. But for now, let's dive into the conversation. Angel, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
You cover an area that I find absolutely fascinating. I mean, you do a great many things, obviously, but I want to focus first on this idea of how you got into animal psychics, animal mediumship, in that world. Now, you talked about this before, but just so for the audience, so they really have an understanding the basics here. So you sort of fell into it sort of accidentally, right? Like there was something with a turtle?
Yeah.
What happened there?
I was a non-believer. I believed at the beginning of my journey that there had to be a limit somewhere. Did I love spooky? Did I love monsters? I grew up with Frankenstein, Dracula, all that kind of stuff. I went to Guatemala, and while I was in Guatemala, I went to the top of this mountain where I was taken to see a medicine man. And when I went into this village, and I have to tell a story because it's so cool.
No, tell it.
I went into this village. I thought, he's going to be in this big house and really beautiful. It was a shanty town. And I remember there was this door, and they kind of opened the door, they slid it, and it's like, all right, do you know who you're? Yeah, okay. And I thought, I'm going to die here. This is it. This is where I'm going to die. And the woman who was with me, she went in, and I was sitting there alone, and this black dog came around the corner, and it put its little paws on my lap, and I'll never forget it. And I heard, "We brought you here. You're going to be okay." And I'm like, okay, that was really weird. And I remember he jumped off and he went around the corner, and I went around the corner and he was gone. And I thought, okay. And then she came out, took me in, and there were these rows of people who were sick and lame. And it was really interesting because then they took me into this huge area where there was a stone. It was almost Indiana Jones-like. And they put these candles in front of me. And I thought, okay, this must be either like a gimmick or whatever. Like, this is their thing. Okay, let's just do it. And I remember there was a hole in the ceiling. It was midday, so it was really, really hot. And I thought, I'm hallucinating through this ceremony because it's so hot. And he told me, the medicine man, he said, you are going to speak to animals, and you are going to make a difference in the world. And I thought, okay, well, this guy's on crack. That's my first thought, right?
Right. Yeah.
So,
because when you hear speak to animals, do you feel like what, like Dr. Dolittle?
Yeah. That's the first
Okay,
thing that
right.
comes into my mind, right? Is like, it's just, it's those old movies. I love old movies. So it's the original Dr. Dolittle, the Eddie Murphy Dr. Dolittle. And so when I came back to Canada, flash forward, a friend of mine took me to this healing space just because it was opening. And I thought, okay, I got nothing to do. So I went with her, and there were these little binders, and everybody was lining up to sign these binders. And I thought, okay, well, I'll be polite, right? I felt awkward. So I signed this binder without looking at it. About 2 weeks later, a week or 2 weeks later, I'm sitting there at my computer and an email pops up. Don't forget you have an animal communications course. And I'm like, the hell is this? I didn't even know what animal communications was. And so I told my friend, she goes, are you going? And I said, absolutely not. And she goes, oh yeah, you are. And she dragged me to this weekend. And the teacher, who has, since become a very good friend, she knew I was a skeptic. She knew why I was there. And so all weekend, she was very gentle about this. But the last thing that we did was something that I teach in my classes now. You take a piece of paper with a picture and you turn the picture over, and without thinking, you just, whatever comes to your mind, you connect, and whatever comes to your mind, whatever you get mentally, physically, emotionally, or spiritually. And I started writing. And then when we were supposed to, in this group, talk about what it was we saw, she had given us her turtle. And I thought, okay. And it was me and a partner. It was two of us. So we both had to write down all this stuff individually. So she goes, okay, Angel, what did you get? And I'm thinking, no, not me first. Don't do this to me. She goes, no, what did you get? And I thought, okay, whatever. And I stood up and I said, what I actually heard, amongst other things, was do-de-do-do-do. And all of a sudden, my partner stood up and she goes, oh my God, I got the same thing. And I'm like, what? And she shows me her paper, and that's exactly what she had gotten. And I'm like, what the hell? And my teacher, she goes, yeah, that's pretty much his personality. That's who he is. And I thought, that's unreal. And of course, other things that happened that weekend too, to kind of, break down the stone. And that's kind of what made me start to realize that, wow, maybe there is something to this. I wasn't fully, yeah, let's do this. Maybe there's something to this and I need to explore it more deeply. And I started working with her. I found this little store in Newmarket. I went to get a psychic reading. I asked her what I was going to do with my life. And she goes, well, this. And again, I was just like, oh my God, you're so on crack. And 6 weeks later, I ended up working at that store as their animal communicator. One of their readers had left. They were filling a space. And I thought, I'll throw my hat in the ring. Then for about 9.5 years after that, I shadowed the owner, who was a hereditary witch. And I learned about psychic work. I learned about magic. I learned about, animal communications, but more so, I learned about myself. And that was the most beautiful thing. I found tribe. I had always felt like I didn't belong. And it wasn't just as a reader, or because I was weird, because I was always called the weird child in school, at home. That was my thing. I was weird. But I also didn't connect to myself as a woman, because a lot of the women around me were very different than me. And when I found this place, I realized, wow, there are women out there who are kick-ass, and there are women out there who believe this stuff. And there are women out there who really understand what empowered and strong means. So this path not only gave me my abilities and opened me up to my abilities, it opened me up to me. And that's what I like to share with people. This isn't just about psychic abilities and seeing ghosts and talking to animals, although it's really cool. It really is about learning about you and growing. And it's a path. It's a dedication. It's a calling.
What? Okay, so a part of this, you refer to yourself as a realm walker.
Mm-hmm.
Can you quickly define what that means?
Sure. So
first?
A realm walker is someone who can walk the different realms. So I don't just work with animals. I also work with humans, but I'm also the voice of the ancestors. And I'm kind of leaning towards that more now and growing into that and evolving into that. And
so what are realms though? I'm sorry.
Realms. So there is this place called the Akashic Records. And
okay. So yes, that I've heard. Yep.
Yes.
I'm familiar with that.
Think of it as a room within a room within a room within a room, or a realm within a realm within a realm within a realm.
Got it. Okay.
So I can go into all these different realms and these different places effortlessly. And everyone can do that. It's just some of us are more attuned to be able to do that than others, and others have different gifts.
Do you have to put yourself in a different state to do when you do that? Or is it just like meditate first? Or is it just,
you know what?
It's just your... You just feel
No.
like that's just the gift. All right. So what distinct realms do you experience animals moving through, and do different species occupy or prefer different layers in these realms?
That's actually an amazing question. It just depends. So there is a room that I go, because it's limitless, different people who work in the Akasha, when we go into the Akasha, especially in dream time, we go into different realms or different rooms. For me, if I go into the room of crystals, that's where I'll find the dolphins, because dolphins are attuned to the crystals, and they're one of the highest vibrations. But animals can be anywhere depending on what a person needs. So to give you an example, a woman that I worked with, when I first got into the Akasha with her, the first thing that I was taken to was this farm. And we saw these pigs there, but they were all caged. And I couldn't understand that. And so I asked...
Wait, this is a vision. This is a...
Yeah, this is going into the Akashic Records. So I work with people one-on-one. I'm sorry. I work on people one-on-one through Zoom and in person. And so what I do is I help them get into the Akashic Records, and their higher self helps us go through the different realms to help them heal and grow. And this particular woman, she actually... we saw these pigs and they were in cages, and I couldn't understand why. So I asked what was going on, and they're saying, this is who she is. And I realized the pig or the boar was her spirit animal, the animal that she would turn into if she was an animal. And that's profound, because what it means, what the boar symbolizes, is femininity and feminine divine. And that was locked up in her, right? She was so scared of connecting to who she was.
I would never have thought that. Why would a boar is what's connected to femininity? That's a representative of femininity?
Yeah. So if you look at Wonder Woman, she's actually the goddess Diana in the Roman pantheon, and her symbol is the boar. If you look at Freya in the Norse mythology, her symbol is the boar as well, and she is considered all mother, as Odin is all father, right? So the boar is actually very, very powerful. 30 years to pick up these little tidbits.
I don't know. It's like, that's great. I mean, honestly, I had no idea. Have you ever encountered an animal whose consciousness... No, okay, so wait. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead. So this is, now you're dealing with a person, and then that's sort of their spirit animal, right? And that's sort of the connection. You're connecting... I don't even know how to ask it.
Let me go back a little bit. I'm a little different as an animal communicator than most animal communicators. So animal communications is the ability to be able to tap into animals on more than one level, more than just the physical level. Mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual.
Yes.
So I can do that with an animal in front of me. I can do that with an animal who's crossed over. I don't need the animal in front of me. Okay. However, what makes me a little bit different and unique is that I do work with spirit animals. I work with other things outside of the traditional idea of animal communications. I work with animals in dream time. I work with, whether you believe in that or not is up to you. But like gods and goddesses, like Bast from the Egyptian pantheon and Anubis from the Egyptian pantheon. So all of these different creatures or entities or energies, if you want, or if you will, these I can connect to and work on such deep levels, even in ceremony. So if I'm doing ceremonial work, and again, I wish I was in my office. I'm traveling this weekend. You will see in my office on my shelf, I have skulls. I have a zebra skull. I have a giraffe skull. I have a deer's leg. And the reason I have these, and people look at me like that all the time. The reason I have those is because I can use those in healing work. The deer represents gentleness. So if I have someone who's had trauma or is angry or has deep-rooted stuff going on, I can use that deer leg call in the deer medicines, call in the deer tribe to help to heal that. Like the indigenous people of North America, we have the bear. Right? Bear is very healing. Bear is the leader from the heart. And they even have bear medicine songs, and they have bear medicine ceremonies to heal the heart, to heal trauma, to heal all of these things. So I work with that in different ways. And I'm fortunate enough to have been invited into different cultures to be able to learn their ways too, and be given permission to work in their ways.
Okay. Thank you for that. That's super helpful to me to understand, like, where this conversation goes for sure. So let's talk about the outside of the spirit animal of a person. Let's talk about the animals.
Yes.
So you talk about their 4 levels: mental, physical, emotional, spiritual.
Yes.
what does it feel like when an animal is, well, actually, I'm taking a step back from that. What are you hearing words? Are you feeling feelings? What is the communication like between you and an animal?
It depends on the animal, like a person. So some animals are incredibly physical. Some animals are incredibly emotional. So when I tap in, I feel their emotions, especially wild animals. If I'm working with wild animals, they don't work on the level of verbal. They work on the level of mental with visuals and with feeling. Other animals are very visual. When I have animals who work on that mental level, I always tell the clients, have imaginary conversations with your animal, knowing they're not imaginary, right? Create little TikToks and reels in your head when you want them to do something with a great big check mark in it, right? And you'll see over weeks, they will change. I actually trained a cat to go to the washroom in that fashion. He was a very mental level cat, and my partner at the time and he were having a war. And so to show how upset he was, his cat would go and pee in the heat register. And I thought, oh, this is really bad. And I just started working with animal communications. Okay, says Angel, let's prove that this works. So I started giving him these visuals of what I wanted him to do, just seeing him sitting on the toilet doing his thing. So 2 weeks go by, nothing's happening. And I'm like, okay, you know what, whatever. This stuff is obviously a crock. And I wake up one morning and my son, who was very little at the time, comes and goes, mommy, mommy, mommy. I'm like, what? And he's like, the cat's peeing in the toilet. And I'm like, okay, wait, what? And so I get up and we're there and we're looking at him. And he literally, his back is to us and he turns around and I swear to the gods.
Was he holding a newspaper?
Sorry. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, there's a new visual. Yeah, it is. And all I heard was, well, this is what you wanted, wasn't it? And he never.
Wait, you heard that in English?
Yeah. So I heard him. So some animals you can hear very distinctly. There is a voice. Other animals, you can actually feel it. Other animals will show you through visualizations. Other animals are very physical. So they will show you in the physical world what they want and need.
Can an animal get stuck in a certain one of these 4 levels? And can that imbalance or even mirror patterns within their human family when you're dealing with pets?
That's actually a really good question. No, I don't think they can get stuck in a level of communication because the thing is if that's who they are, like me, I'm a very physical person, right? That's who I am. It doesn't make me stuck in that form of communication, but I do try to, as a human, connect more to the emotional way of communicating and maybe stillness and listening a little bit more. So I have worked with animals where it was like, yeah, you're really physical, but let's connect your emotions a little bit more, right?
And it's almost like I asked the question because it's like with kids, right? Like, like your kid is an audible learner, right? They do better listening versus reading versus, you know what I'm saying? Like that kind of thing. And it's like, oh, well, and now that you know that, you see like, oh, they're not an idiot. They actually just don't like learning this way.
Right.
So,
and that's exactly how we work with emotional animals. These are the ones who are so misunderstood. These are the animals people go, oh my God, he's obviously not very bright. He's so dumb. He's so this. Because the animal just kind of looks at you like, I don't get it, because the animal's trying to register your feelings, doesn't get your words. With animals who are emotional and animals who are mental, I always tell pet parents, use small sentences, right? Like, let's go for a run and feel the action verb. Right? Because run has a feeling to it. It has an emotion attached to it. And that's what the animal is going to pick up. So as an animal communicator, the first thing we do when we walk into any situation is we watch the animal, we connect to the animal, we go, okay, this is your level of communication. I'm going to communicate with you that way. And they're very effortless in showing you how they want to communicate, right? Because they want to talk. They want to give you what they want to say and feel.
So you said you think cats are more mental? On the more mental plane, and are dogs more what? Emotional and fun and better?
Again, it depends.
I'm a dog person.
It depends on the animal. We have stereotypes in our heads of what cats are, dogs are, birds are, snakes are, spiders are. I really feel like it is really very much more about the individual animal than it is about the species. Having said that, cats are far more independent. So I do find that they a lot more can be mental, physical, or mental, emotional. Whereas with dogs, I find they're more emotional, physical, or emotional, mental.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now, does an animal become a spirit animal for someone, or
Hmm.
is that something that I don't know, is it like a Patronus from Harry Potter? I don't understand. Like, what is the
Okay,
do you
no,
under-
no, this is it. I know exactly where you're going with this.
Okay.
And I think it's a fantastic question. So when an animal crosses over, they become in South America. They believe that you have your ancestors and your blood spirit family, and then you have your spirit family that is not blood. And so your spirit family are the ones who are animals, friends, all that kind of stuff, right? So you have your ancestors and you have your spirit family. And so they become your spirit family. And so these animals can be with you. However, as a healer, and different energetics believe different things. This is my knowing. Ancestors are made ancestors. Guides are made guides. Guardians are made guardians. Angels are made angels. Demons are made demons. That is how they are made. So when an animal crosses over, their spirit becomes part of your soul group. It becomes part of your spirit tribe. Okay. So when an animal crosses over, it doesn't mean they can't guide you. It doesn't mean they can't be there with you. I had a pet, Severus. He was my first snake. He worked with me for 17 years. And Severus Snake, obviously there's a play there.
I love it.
He worked very much with ceremony when the South American medicine men came here to Canada. When he passed away, they did a huge ceremony for him, a snake ceremony for him there. And he now works with me as a healer. When I do healing work, I call on his energy because that's what he did here. Okay. So he does help me. I have other animals who don't. They crossed over. They're going and doing their own thing wherever they are now. Right. But we do have guides and guardians and that are animals, ones that are made that way. So a guide that is an animal, a guardian that is an animal who has been assigned to you at birth, or maybe in a different lifetime who's still with you. Absolutely. We even have past life animals who are still with us, ones that connect to us. I connect to those. And that again makes me a little bit different as an animal communicator. Because I can walk the realms, I can also work with animals who come from your past lives and from your present past as well.
Do you deal with sort of this paranormal space at all when you're talking about spirits and ghosts or in a haunted? Have you ever been do you ever do go on an investigation with other people or go into a house that people saying we're haunted? Okay. So then have you been in those houses with animals? How does, in a case where a house is haunted or highly active, like what differences do you see between how animals describe spirits or how human mediums describe them? Are are they noticing entities in a completely different way? Is it a miss, or what's that connection?
For me, animals are my animal allies on an investigation. I've done a few locations where the animals actually assisted me. The spirit animal has actually assisted me in what was going on.
Wait a minute. Wait, the animal, there's an animal actually in the room, or are you saying
No, a spirit animal, an animal who's crossed.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So I can depend on, and I have done that as well. If I go to a haunted location and it's
so tell me both. Tell me both. The spirit animal. Sorry to interrupt you. The spirit animal, and like when you've been there with a real animal that's part, like the pet living in this house.
Right.
Like, you get something. Yeah.
So when it comes to a ghost animal, I had one particular story where we called it the hangman, and working up to that week, working up to it, another medium and I had been having dreams and all these weird instances. It was really strange. When we got on location, we walked in and all the paintings on the walls were painted by the owner who had called us in, and they were of this entity that she and I had been seeing and dreaming about all week. I didn't understand what was going on, and neither did she. And all of a sudden, I started seeing this dog, and it was obviously dead to me and to everybody else. And so I was just like, okay, did you have a dog who's crossed? And she goes, yeah, I did. And I said, and did it look like this? And did it look like that? And she goes, yeah. And I said, okay, that dog is here and needs to tell me something. And then she froze up. It's almost like there were things she didn't want to tell us. If you want to know anything about a family, a location, about a situation or a story, ask the animal. They're going to tell you everything. You have no idea how many affairs I have found out about because the animal has told me. In this particular case, though, the animal showed me certain things in the house. And when I started asking questions, she got really uncomfortable. And so I sat her down and I said, listen to me. I said, this entity that's been following you around, how long has it been with you? How long has it been attached? And she goes, since I was 16 years old. And then she goes, it's the first time I've told anyone. And I said, no, that's not true. I said, your animal's known about it the entire time. Right. So that dog was able to unlock the core of what was going on in this situation. And what was really crazy was that I didn't know this, but then when we walked in, we found out that the gentleman who committed suicide was actually someone I had known years before, which was really, really interesting. It was one of my first investigations. We also have, like when I work with animals, sometimes we don't think about the animals. And this is a big thing. Any paranormal investigator out there, if you are listening, please listen to this if you don't hear anything else. When you go on an investigation and you're a medium or an investigator, don't just call in the spirits of the location, call in the animal spirits of the location. Because we did a paranormal investigation at the Horse Palace at Exhibition Place. And we were there for the weekend. And it was amazing what we had encountered. The Exhibition Place was the last deployment center in Toronto in World War II, World War I, where the boys were sent out. But what we didn't realize and what we didn't see, and it was the first thing I connected to, was I was going back to like the 1700s, only to be told later by one of the tour guides that this actually was native land, that there were battles that were fought there. And so all of a sudden I started seeing different things. I started seeing dogs. I started seeing cats. I started seeing rats, right? This is a deployment center. These had stalls there that were horse stalls. So all weekend I kept seeing this massive black horse coming around the corner at the end of one of the hallways. And I thought, like at the end of the stables. And I thought, okay, this horse wants to connect, but he doesn't want to connect. We had a group with us on the second day, and this woman kept staring. And I said, what do you see? And she goes, there's a black horse there. And I'm like, yes, there is. And then she started to tell me, she goes, the black horse is coming around the corner. And I said, yeah, and it's coming closer, isn't it? And she goes, you see it too? And I said, yeah, I do. And I said, this is the most I've seen it. So whoever you are, whatever your abilities are, you can tap into animals the way I can. Right. And then she became like, afterwards, she came to me. We talked a lot. We did a reading together. She became one of my students for animal communications, and she became a communicator. Right. So it's amazing how these things can really open us up.
Now, what about living animals in a paranormal situation?
So I've gone into situations in paranormal investigations where, there's a dog or cat who lives on the premises. And if they're living on the premises, they're the first ones I connect to and the first thing I ask people when we walk in is, tell me something. How have your animals been reacting to your space? Right? This tells me if it's a haunting. So the first thing that we do as an animal, as a paranormal team, is we actually have a list of questions. We'll call people and go, listen, is anybody taking hallucinogenics? Is anybody considered schizophrenic? Is anybody, because we want to make sure that we're going to go there and do proper work. One of my questions is, are there any animals in the house? If so, have they responded to anything that's been going on? And how have they been responding? Okay. So when I go into a place, like if that's a check mark for me and we go into a place, the first thing I do is I sit down with the animal and I do nothing but go, so what's going on? Show me. And all of a sudden, they'll show me the visuals. They'll even show me where the entities have been. They'll show me how the entities have been affecting them. And in certain cases,
and just to be clear, when you say show me, they're not like, you're not following them around the house. You're like,
sometimes that's happened.
Oh, okay.
Now, if I say show me, they can either show me visually or they'll actually physically get up and they'll actually show me a room or somewhere they don't want to go into, like a basement or a particular room.
Okay.
So it can be either way. So, I've had animals who were so sick, and that's why the pet parent will call me in, and I'll go, you have an entity in the house. This animal is picking up on the entities and it's affecting them. So what we do is we cleanse and clear the animal, and then we protect the animal, and you'll see a huge shift with the animal. And then if the person wants to go further and have the investigations team in, that's up to them, because I'm there originally for the animal. Right? There's even a way to kind of shut it down where I will tell pet parents, you're in control of your home. You can tell those entities not to present themselves to your animals. If they want to stay and they're not harming anything, maybe they're family members or whatever, that's really cool. But close your eyes, sit on the couch, and literally say, this is my home. If you want to be here, do not present yourself in such a way that is harmful to any member of my family, including my animals.
That's like John would call that intent, like
Yes.
really setting boundaries for intent. Do you find that animals are more sensitive to paranormal activity, or are they just active participants? You know, are they
they're so much more sensitive.
They're much more sensitive. So, and are they acting as like, are they negotiating boundaries? Are they acting as the guards for their owners, or what is the predominant?
Sometimes they're
space?
acting as guards, especially cats. Cats are really good at that. Whereas I find other animals are more alert systems. It's almost like if I see an animal, or if you see an animal in your home, they're standing in a corner and they're growling. So to give you a really good example, I just acquired a haunted item, and it was a torture device. And I got it just because it was really calling to me. It's a really cool looking device, and it's a haunted items thing. I love my haunted items. That's a whole other show. And so anyway, I acquired this haunted item, and one morning I woke up and I wanted to see how haunted it was. So I tapped into this item, and my two dogs were lying at the bottom of the bed. And, as I tapped in and went more deeply, one of them, she got up and she started growling. Now, as soon as that happens, the other one usually gets up too. Maybe there's somebody outside or what have you. She started growling. The other one stayed asleep and started having nightmares. Like, you could hear her whining, you could hear her. And I thought, okay, let's see how far we can take this. So I took it a little farther, and then it was like, okay, enough. So what I did was I disconnected from that, because it was even making me feel angry, nauseous, all of these different things. And I disconnected. I bound the item, which is an energetic way of doing things so that it can't harm anybody. As soon as I did that, boom, my one dog fell right asleep, and the other one, she fell right asleep.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, and that's how I know I'm not crazy.
Right. And
because these are not coincidental. Hey,
Sure.
I'm a skeptic at heart.
Sure.
Prove it to me.
Right. But I love that. Okay. So, I mean, I like the practical example, like, of that, right? You knew something was up. You brought something new into your environment.
Right.
They changed. You fixed. You did something to see if that was it. Right. It's like a ruling out. Start going down the checklist, and then it's wild. That's cool. That's.
And this is part of safeties, though, too, right? Like,
right.
I like to teach people, and this is what I do with paranormal teams. They'll actually have me in, and we do sessions on defense and protections, because that's one of my specialties. And when I do work on defense and protections, one of the things I talk about is, how do you protect the animals in the house after you leave? Right.
Well, this is great. This is a great segue, because this is what I want to get into, some of this, the ethics and the edge cases in your work, right? So you're talking about, sometimes you deal with life and death decisions, right? You're dealing with some of these animals, from whether it's euthanasia or surgeries for them.
Yeah.
What are, outside of the paranormal, we'll talk about that in a sec, get back to that in a second, but just from a practical standpoint, what ethical lines have you drawn for yourself, about what you will and won't tell a guardian of an animal when you're in these situations? How do you handle that? How do you
Discernment? That's a great question, by the way. Discernment is the all. It's not that you get the messages. It's, how do you present them, right? It's, do you present them? If I have a situation in which I am uncertain as to whether I can give that message, I have a spirit tribe that I work with. And so what I'll do is go, if I'm supposed to give this message, give me the eloquence and give me the opportunity. And if the opportunity presents itself, I will bring in that information. I do have a lot of pet parents who will call and say, help me make this decision, what's going on and what have you. So one of the first things I do, even before a pet parent starts speaking, is I tap into the animal, because they need to know this is legitimate, right? I need to know this is a legitimate communication. So as soon as a pet parent sits with me, I will tap into the animal and I'll go, oh, okay, this is where we're going with this. I'll ask the animal questions. I will talk to them, and I will talk to the parent about them. So a lot of times, if I know an animal is passing away or is ready for euthanasia, I will see spirits coming close to them. That's how I register death with humans and how I register death with animals. I will see spirits coming close to them to come and receive them. So if I see those animals, or I see those those entities coming close, I will say to the parent, I'm feeling like this animal needs a lot of your comfort. I think you need to spend a lot of time that's why I'm calling, because we're thinking of, putting our animal down. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I think that this animal, if you choose to do that, this is something that they would like to request. And the animal's already telling me what they want. I'm just trying to put it to the pet owner in a way that that respects the animal. Because a lot of people will also come to me and go, just tell me what my animal wants. Do they want to cross over? Do they want to stay? Is it time? Is it not time? And you'll see animals will tell us. Animals will say, I'm not ready for this yet. And other animals will say, yeah, you know what? Please, it's time for me. Just let them know that I love them. I don't want to go anywhere, but I'm in so much pain right now. And I'll feel it. Like as soon as I tap in, I will feel where they're in pain, how they're crossing.
Oh,
right. And that's part of the hard part of the work I do. So
that's awful.
I've had days where I've had like death session. So after days like that, I'll go for...
I'd rather go into a haunted house 10 times over than do that.
Right. And so this is when... And this is really important for people to know, is if you're going to be on this path, make sure you have outlets. I don't care if you're a paranormal investigator, if you're an animal communicator, if you're a medium, make sure there's something physical that can ground you. For me, I mountain bike, right? And I run and I do all of these physical activities because I'm Gemini. That's something that keeps me in my body and grounded. And I don't know how many days I've had where, I finish work and I cry for 15 minutes and that's okay.
Oh, yeah. Now, that's sort of helping the animal, and I see that. Now, let's talk about, have you ever been in a situation that's a little bit even darker, where the animal wants something that the guardian won't give, like they're in a bad situation, or you find out that they're,
well,
they want to leave the household, for some reason.
Oh, yeah. Before we go there, though, it's also important to remember that when we're dealing with death situations, whether it's after care, before care, during, if there are other animals involved, like siblings, it's really important to know that I tap into them too, right? Because it's not just about the one going through the situation or the human family. If they have siblings, it might be confusing to them, right? A lot of times I find that conversations happen between the 2 animals or 3 animals or whatever, the pack, that help them to accept and adjust. But as an animal communicator, I feel that respects them too. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that.
No, sure.
Yeah. Sorry, what was your question again?
So my question was now, going a little darker. What if you get into a house with a pet and they're like, "Get me out of this house." These people like what is? How do you handle that? What do you say there? If they feel the animal's in a terrible situation, or the guardian is unwilling to do what is required. What do you do?
So I have had situations where animals don't want to be in the household. The first thing I do is I find out why. What is this core issue, right? Is it abuse? Is it that they just don't match? Is it that they miss someone or something? 9 times, I'd even say 8 times out of 10, there's usually a core issue that we can talk through that will change the situation. They might miss a litter mate, or, like one dog came from an owner who was passed away, who was a geriatric, and he was still mourning, and he didn't know how to mourn properly. He didn't have anyone to talk to, right, about this. So when I came into the picture, I gave them ways to be able to communicate and help, and that really helped the situation. But you do get situations where the animal just doesn't want to be there. But in those situations, the animal 9 times out of 10 is going to show the owner. They're going to be aggressive. They're going to be depressed. They're going to be, they just are going to show them, this is not somewhere I want to be. Most of those cases, the owners already know, right? I did have one situation just recently where I actually had to tell the owners that, yeah, you know what, you guys are correct. This dog needs an open space. It needs to be on a farm, not in the city, in an apartment. There's something, and they're like, yeah, we know that. And I said, well, the reality is I feel like there is somebody who's willing to take this animal, and you need to maybe consider it. I never say you have to. It's your choice. It's always your choice. And they told me, they said, yeah, there is somebody who's willing to take them. I just don't want to part with them. And it's like, okay, but in that particular case, and then we have that kind of counseling situation where it's like, okay, but what is it about? Is it about you, or is it about the animal, right? Is it whose happiness is this about? And then we have a small conversation. So sometimes sometimes we have to play counselor. And I'm not a counselor. I'm not a certified counselor in any way, shape, or form, but I can be an ear for people to express themselves.
Have you ever walked into a situation where it's like the animal in the house is like, listen, this guy's beating his kid or beating his, no shit.
Yeah. So there was a situation.
And does the animal like, hey, don't say anything. Don't say I told you. Like, tell me this. How does that happen? What do you do?
I had a bird once, and I walked into the situation, and the bird kept saying to me, and the
it was a bird.
Boys, this is a bird, and it lived in the son in his room, and the bird kept saying, don't go, don't go, don't go. Right. And the boy was.
But wait, again, you got to remind me, is it saying it out loud? Like, is it a parrot or is it saying it in here?
So I heard this. I actually heard this. And this actually, oddly enough, that's why they had me in, because it was a parrot who had been speaking and then it lost its voice. And it was just like, okay, don't go, don't go, don't go. And I'm like, okay, I don't understand. And it kept showing me university and who he was, but I kept getting this something in the background. And then I started talking to the parents. I started talking to the boy, and there was something about this boy's energy. And I looked at the bird and I showed him, just an intuition, just an instinct. I showed him a gravestone, and all of a sudden the bird went like this. And I went, don't go, don't go, don't go. And I went, oh my God, this boy had been thinking very, very, very dark thoughts. This guy had been thinking about, he had a lot of mental health issues. So I ended up talking to him a little bit, and then I ended up bringing him out, and we talked to the parents because he gave me permission to talk to them. And then there was this beautiful moment, and they kind of worked through it. They got him help and that kind of stuff. And it was a really amazing moment, but that one definitely could have gone south. I did have another one, which actually, this is a story I haven't told before, but it was a cat. And the reason they had me in was because the cat and the husband were not getting along. And I was just like, I don't quite understand. And the cat showing me being aggressive towards him, but he wouldn't tell me why. And then I kept seeing the woman.
Are you about to tell me this guy was trying to bang the cat?
No.
Okay.
No, although I've had friends who are animal communicators who've had those kinds of abuse stories.
Oh, all right. So sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So, and she literally told the woman who brought her this, she goes, next time you need to tell me what's going on before you put me in that situation, because after that, she spent a week in her own trauma, right? And it was just like, it was horrible. In this situation, though, it was very interesting because I kept seeing in the vision the woman in the corner. And when I see people in the corner kind of going like this, I'm just like, okay, there's like an abuse there, or there's something traumatic happening. And so after that, I kind of pulled the woman aside. I said, I feel like you're in a very loving relationship. And she kind of looked at me and I went, but I do see there's stuff that needs to be talked about, right? And all of a sudden, the cat came up and jumped on my lap and looked at her. It's almost like, tell her, right? And then the cat started showing me things. I said, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I said, how truthful can I be? And I always say this when it's a hard conversation, how truthful can I be? And she goes, as truthful as you want. She wouldn't make eye contact. And I went, I feel like there are things going on between you and your husband that maybe you want to talk to someone about. And she goes, can I talk to you about it? And I said, that's above my pay grade. I said, if you want to talk to me, that's great. I said, but I do have counselors that I work with. And if you look at my website, I do have a section called My Team. And I have psychotherapists, social workers. I have body workers as well. I don't work in a bubble because I come across a lot of stuff with humans. I make sure to have people around me because I know that there are things that I can't handle. And I said, listen, I said, here's the number of somebody that I know that could really help to work with you. Did she ever call him? No. Right. And that's not my place. But sure. What I was there for was because the cat was being aggressive. So all I could do was say, listen, your cat is really trying to protect you. Your cat is trying to show this guy that this is like a kid, when two people are arguing and the kid gets in between. Right. I've also had jealous dogs. There's a relationship and the dog is possessive of the woman and they won't allow the husband to come near the dog. They will sleep on the husband's side of the bed.
Sure.
Right. And it's become an aggressive situation and I have to go in and negotiate.
Right. That's wild.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I don't even know how I would handle, it's like, hey, I thought I was coming over here to help this dog didn't want to eat. Maybe I can help
It's
it
like
eat. And then you find out.
drywall. You
Yeah.
open the drywall and it just the mold just keeps going.
Unreal,
Not always,
man.
though. Not always. Look, we're talking about the extreme situations. Like
Right.
a lot of my situations are fun. They're funny. They're very warm and heartfelt. They bring a lot of closure to people. It's an amazing lifestyle to live, but people need to understand that you're right. And I'm glad you're asking these questions because it's not always happy, happy, joy, joy.
Can an animal, well, you said an animal can reflect their guardian's emotional stress, and they obviously see that, and you get that a lot. Can an animal take on a physical illness or pattern instead of?
Yeah. So before I even
guardian?
started this work, I lived in this beautiful community, and the woman across the street, I'll never forget it. She inherited her dad's dog, and he had died of throat cancer. She had the dog for 2 years, and 2 years later, the dog died of throat cancer.
No kidding.
So animals do acquire the illnesses of the pet owners in certain circumstances. Not always. But yes, I have seen that many times over. Someone has stomach issues and the cat or the dog or the horse will take it on. It's a very interesting thing to watch because our belief system as healers is that when we don't have something, when there's something unaddressed emotionally, it has to come out physically. Right. And if it's not addressed emotionally, animals love us so much that sometimes they take the overload as well.
Do they ever, based on that, when they take that on, do animals ever stay around longer than they should because they know the grief that it's going to be for their guardian?
Dude,
does that make sense?
Asking some really point-on questions. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do.
What's the conversation there? Not only with the spirit of the animal or with the animal, but with the owner in that sense. Like, look,
so
they're worried about you.
Yeah. So I have had a couple of instances. It hasn't happened often, but I have had a couple of instances. I mean, you've been doing this for almost 30 years. You're going to encounter a lot of these things. And I have had a couple of instances where animals, it's time for them to leave, but they won't leave. I had one particular instance with a cat where it was it's like, unless I know she's okay, I can't go. Tell her to go get a kitten. Tell her because she can't be alone. She can't be alone. She can't be alone. And the owner kept getting this feeling like I should probably get a kitten. I don't want to because I'm betraying my older cat. Right. So the animal was trying to show her that she wanted that. But the owner was like, I don't want to betray it because we don't know, right? We're animal communicating all the time. We all have psychic abilities. It's not about developing our psychic abilities. It's about developing our confidence in them. And most of us walk through life because we're a tangible society needing that evidence, right? Needing that tangible. So this woman was picking up what her animal needed, but she didn't want to act on it. Right? So she was listening. She wasn't dismissing it, but she wasn't acting on it. So about a week later, she did decide to get a little kitten. She said, you know what? I think I'm going to do that. What's the harm? This cat is obviously going to pass. If that's what she wants, this is what I'm going to do. And as soon as she did that, she said her cat started to calm. It started to rest. It started to purr again. And then it left by itself. And she even asked me, she goes, I don't want to euthanize her. I can't do it. She was very organic, very holistic, but the cat was suffering, right? So it was like, okay, what do we do here? So when we tapped into the animal and the animal gave us the request, it was her final request. And that was fulfilled, the animal was able to cross over.
That's a great story.
Thank you.
That's a great story. Have you ever, how often does it happen where what you find out about the pet is in line either then or even later with what a vet recommends?
Always. I find, well, not always. Okay, that's not true. Not always, but most of the time. I find that when I like to go in cold. I don't want people to tell me anything. The way I work in my sessions is I let the animal talk first, because they don't get that opportunity to communicate. and I don't want to color it with the human's perspective. Then I go up to their guides, guardians, angels, archangels. Is there anything else I need to know? And what will happen with an animal who's ill or has some sort of illness is I'll be shown that. I'm like, okay, there's something going on in the stomach. It feels like kidney, or there's something with the heart or whatever. And sometimes I've had animals tell me, my tooth is really hurting, and the owner will turn around and go, well, there were no tooth issues, nothing that we saw. We just took them to the vet. And I'm like, be aware of the tooth. And then all of a sudden, within a week or two, they might stop eating, or they'll go to the vet and it's like, okay, we're just going to check it based on what Angel said. And they'll find that there is an issue there. So animals not only know what's going on with themselves, their guides, guardians, angels do as well. And sometimes we even see the future. I've had animals predict illnesses that either they're going to have or something that's going to happen to their owners.
That's great.
Yeah. I was on a great show once, The Zoomer, and we were talking about animal healing. And one of my favorite companies that I work with, and they're actually going to be on my podcast because I have a new animal podcast coming out. He's going to be on my podcast, Rodney, Corporate Canine Therapy. And we talked about how animals register their work because these are therapy dogs. And what we have to understand is animals have feelings. So when an owner passes, or when an owner is sick, or even someone they know, like these people, there are dogs that go into therapy sessions or go into these sessions, get to know these elders or get to know these people, and then they go back to the senior home and they're not there anymore because they passed. Those animals feel it. They feel it, right? So one of the things I also talk about with animals is cleansing, clearing, making sure, even if you're an energy worker, right? You're doing Reiki in your home. You think that's not affecting your animal? Absolutely it is. Cleanse and clear your animal. Cleanse and clear your home. Take care of it, right?
No, for sure. I get that. I can see that. All right. Do you deal a lot with family work too, right? With kids?
Oh, yeah.
Right. Now, a lot of people in the space, in the spiritual space, feel kids are somehow obviously more connected. Are kids able to pick up things from animals? What is that connection between kids and their animals? Is it less like like they say kids can see ghosts, and they're connected to spirit a little bit better and all that? Is that hold true with animals?
What I love about kids is kids are animal communicating all the time. They're just not saying it. So when I go into a home and there's a kid, I always make sure, or if I'm doing it virtually, because I work all over the world virtually. When the kids come on, I always make sure to give them space. Is there anything you want to talk to your animal about, right? Ask questions or what have you. And there have been cases where I'm like, but you talk to your animal. And they'll be like, no, I don't. I'm like, yes, you do. I said, tell me something that you think your animal does that they would tell you that they wouldn't tell anybody else. And I said, but whisper it to your mom. Whisper it to your mom or your dad. So they'll whisper. So I'll go to the animal and go, show me, right? Just show me. Give me something. So they'll show me something and I'm like, okay, so your animal is telling me about this, and this. And the kid's like, oh my God, did you hear me? And I'm like, no, I didn't hear you. I said this because you and your animal are so tight. You guys are so close. And you, because you're a kid, are so open that you can hear them better than anybody else in the house. And that's the truth. Between 0 and 7, a child is wide open. So when we start going to school, when we have that community input, that we start to focus a little bit differently and we start to put those games, those things that we were told are games away. So I told my mother I was psychic and everybody turned their back on me. It's okay. Cool. Excellent.
Sure.
Years later, I went back and I said, listen, I remember calling my mom and I said, listen, I have something to tell you. And she goes, oh God, what now? And I turned around and I said, it turns out I can talk to animals. And there's a silence on the phone, right? And I'm just like panicking. And all of a sudden she turns around and she goes, now that I buy. I'm like, excuse me? I almost fell off my chair. And so she told me that when I was a little girl, I had these weird instances with animals that I don't even remember. And so this was something she could get on board with. And the reality is that when it comes to animals, people are more willing to believe psychic work than with humans or mediumship or any of those because we love our animals so much. And kids are the ideal conduits because they're vibrationally more of a match with animals too. Animals are high vibration. Kids are high vibration, right? So it's easier channel. Even babies, we look at babies and how they connect to animals. Right? It's because they're communicating on other levels that are nonverbal.
I love when I interview a psychic because whether you realize it or not, they usually tell me a story that leads perfectly into the next question that I had written down. And it was this, and you tell me the story about how your mom says that to you. And my question that I have literally next was, if a parent listening to this suspects their child and their pet have a much deeper bond than normal, what specific behaviors would you tell them to watch for, over the next few weeks? Like, this is how you know.
I would suggest that they just encourage any kind of positive communication between the child and the dog, or the animal. And so if you see your child, this is one of my favorites. If you see your child and they're just staring at each other, the animal is staring at your dog and your dog is staring at you, or the cat or whatever, there's a communication going on there. Okay, there's something unspoken going on there, whether the child understands that or not. Sometimes you'll see babies laughing and cooing and giggling with the animal, and it's consistent. It's not like just one time. It's like anytime the animal is near and they're maybe sleeping, or maybe just watch for the physical cues between babies and animals. With kids as well, sometimes they'll come and say, "Oh, you know what? Fido is saying this to me." Or Fido was, I had one girl, oh my gosh, she was so beautiful. She was about 12, 13, and she had this horse. And she was really worried about the horse. And so I came in and I saw her kind of standing on the background. Mom was taking the lead, which was fine. But afterwards, I kind of went to her and I said, "How do you feel about this communication?" She goes, "Can I tell you something?" And I said, "What?" And she goes, "My stomach hurts." And I said, "Why does your stomach hurt?" And my stomach had been hurting all that time, but I never got into it with the horse or the mom. And she goes, "I think there's something going on with my horse's stomach." I said, "The horse told me there was something going on with her stomach." I said, "Told you?" And she goes, "I had a dream last night. I had a dream and my horse told me," and she almost started crying. I said, "That's brilliant." I said, "That's a form of animal communications. Never, never, never discount your dreams." So that's another thing. When kids have dreams, when people have dreams of their animals, a lot of times that's lucid. Okay, lucid. They did check the horse. There was something going on with the stomach, and the kid, it gave her confidence, right? From that point on, it nurtured her relationship, not only with that animal, but she started gaining confidence in who she was and listening better, because that's all this is listening, right?
Do you ever deal with like neurodivergent kids?
How do you mean?
Like ADHD,
like ADHD,
or
have you?
And is there a difference?
I've not
Have you
really
noticed a difference?
I've not really worked with kids who are autistic, ADHD, neurodivergent, that kind of thing. But, my child is an animal communicator, and I could go, that's a whole thing on itself. But he is ADHD. I'm one of the original ADHD. When I was a kid, they took me to the doctor, and the doctor said that I had hyper deficit disorder. It was something like that. And that is today's ADHD. Never been medicated, never been.
Right.
But I've realized now that for me, it's because I walk two worlds. It's hard for me to focus here because I'm so much over there. And I've been taught by my elders and by my mentors, 1 foot here and 1 foot there. But walking this world for me is really, really hard. So a lot of times when I see kids who are, like, I haven't worked directly with them, but I have parents whose kids are, ADD, ADHD, that kind of thing, autistic. I will tell them that, you know what, your child more than likely can see between worlds, right? I also feel, and I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for this, but I also feel that it can be overdiagnosed, right? Sometimes with ADD and ADHD, these are kids who are really, really gifted. And these kids have abilities. And because we don't nurture it in that fashion, we'll find that if we do, that we start to help them with that, it just rebalances them. That's all, right? Because we're such a mental, physical society that we forget the spiritual, emotional. We're trying to fix what we see, that what's going on internally is becomes secondary. So with parents with ADD, ADHD, I find that those kids really attract animals. So that's another key. If you have a child that you suspect is an animal communicator or works with animals, what have you, you'll find that animals are around them all the time, like in a weird way. Like, like they've got flocks of animals or strange animals. Like, my son always has seagulls around him, spiders around him. He's 22, but this has been a consistent thing since he was little. Right? So all of these little things that you watch for, it's like, are animals, like my mom, animals were always around you. And it was almost like they were talking to you. And she said that to me. Right? Does that make sense?
It absolutely makes sense.
Oh,
how are we doing on time? Are you okay? Because I still have more if you do. I know I said an hour. Okay, great.
Dude, I'm good.
Right,
I'm
awesome.
yours.
Oh, I love it. Okay. Let's get out of the apartment for a second. Let's get out of the house and let's go into the wild for a minute.
Yes.
All right. So you've worked with exotics and wild animals. Sorry.
That's my forte.
My coffee went down the wrong pipe for a second. Sorry. You've worked with exotics and you worked with wild animals. Yes. Can you share a time when an animal in captivity gave you a perspective on humans that blindsided you?
So, yeah, for sure. This was my very first animal communications experience. My son and I were at we'll call it a water park. I don't like naming names. And at this water park, they had whales. They have those whale shows, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, for sure.
It was packed upstairs. So we went downstairs and we were watching them through the glass.
It was SeaWorld.
Yeah, like SeaWorld kind of,
yeah.
Right? And so we were downstairs and there's this big, speaker thing, whatever. And we were watching and all of a sudden the trainer goes, "Oh, this, the whale," named the whale. Where are you going? Where's it going? It's almost like it was breaking off from its routine. The thing came down. I kid you not. The thing came down, came straight to my son. And it looked at him and everybody kind of backed off a little bit. It was really weird. And all of a sudden it moved and it looked at me. It came and it shifted its focus to me. And the feelings I got literally put me to my knees. I felt sadness. I felt camaraderie with the other whale that was there, the love that it had for the trainers, but the need for more in its life. Like I just felt all of these different feelings. And I have to understand, I was a new communicator at the time. So for me, this was overwhelming. So once it had downloaded all of that information, it's almost like I need to vent. It's almost like it felt me and it felt my son and it came down and it's like, okay, this kid, he's little. I don't think he can came over to me. And then it went away and my son came over and he put his hand on my shoulder and he goes, "It's okay, Mommy." He goes, "I felt that too."
Wow. Yeah.
And that was probably the most precious moment I've had with him. But one of the most profound moments I've ever had.
Yeah,
that was completely blindsiding.
Yeah, those orcas are very wild. Like the orcas in captivity are wildly interesting and
Yes.
Even for the non-animal communicator, we can see how horrible it is. And we've seen the documentaries and everything else about it. And just physically, the fact that their dorsal fin goes down, when they're there's a whole, it is such a,
but that's
thing.
The tangible. If you sit there and watch the shows and open yourself up to receiving, trust me, you're feeling it, you're sensing it, and you don't even realize it's happening.
No, right? I won't go there anymore after seeing that documentary about it.
That was the last time we ever went to anything. I couldn't handle it.
Yeah, I can't do it either. It's not for me. Once I learned about that and how it's done, and then there's some the connection between the mother and their kids when they're separated for orcas, it's like, oh my God, that's a person.
It's not okay.
It's not okay. What's the strangest non-animal consciousness that's come through, but what was supposed to be an animal reading? And how did the animal feel about that intrusion? Has that ever happened? Does that make sense? Have you ever felt a presence or a spirit that's non-human or non-animal?
Oh, that's come in during an animal.
Yes, when you're supposed to be with an animal. And then what is that for the animal?
Yeah.
And how does that, what's it for you and what's it like for the animal that you're dealing with when there's something else there that's not even
Yeah, so it's interesting. We were on location with a paranormal team, and at this location, there was this dog, this little dog, and he was following us around for some, but he really wanted us to go into the mill that was there. It was an old abandoned mill. And when we were in the mill, we decided to do some EVP and we decided to do some work, what have you. We weren't getting very much, but there was something there. And I asked the dog, I said, what's here? And he sat in front of me. This is a living dog. And he sat in front of me and he looked past my shoulder, my left shoulder. And I'm like, okay, that's where I'm feeling it. I said, you know what? We need to turn everything off. Let's just try something. Let's turn everything off. Use the dowsing rods, but let's turn everything off. And as soon as we turned everything off, we started hearing water dripping. And there was nothing in this place where there was water dripping. And I could feel something coming closer to me, and I could feel it, and I could see it in my third eye that it was down, and it was bizarre. And so anyway, the dog, as it came closer to me, was kind of backing up, wasn't too scared, but was backing up. And as soon as that happened, I recall going, okay, don't turn around, turn around. And then I thought, okay, I've gone from don't turn around to turn around, so I'm going to turn around. And I remember turning around and I saw something go. And I thought, what was that? And the dog went, it lives in the back. And I realized later that it was actually something that lived in the river. So this was a natural creature or a nature creature that lives in the woods. So a lot of people, psychics come to me all the time and they're like, how do you tap into an animal? Because I can tap into humans, but not animals. That's pshaw. That's not true. If you can tap into a human, you can tap into an animal, you can tap into a tree, you can tap into nature of any kind. And because I realm walk and I believe that there are no limitations now, right? These kinds of, I open myself up to those things that people consider crazy. You want to consider me crazy? I wear weird on a like a badge,
Sure.
okay? I am a freak and God bless the freaks. So, so I was able to go to the river and find out that this creature actually loved it when this mill was working and there was a hustle and bustle and it loved that kind of stuff. So I asked permission of the curator there. I said, there is this thing in the back. And she goes, yeah, I know. We just didn't know what it was. We knew because we know at night there's like these stories. And I said, but it's lonely. It doesn't want to be here. And she goes, can you do something about it? And I said, well, I can try. So I found a place in a different city, in a different town. And I kind of asked it to kind of move into that space. And so now every once in a while I go and visit it there. And it's got a new home where people walk the path and they kind of do their thing and he's there. And
What is it? What is it?
It's just a nature creature. It was a river creature. It was a creature that lived in the river. It was a spirit.
All right, well then this is the perfect time to ask this, which I ask all my guests, which is Angel, what do you think spirits are? What are you dealing with? I heard you use the word vibration earlier, which is a very,
I've been thinking about this question because I know you were going to ask it.
Sure.
And this is something I think all energetics struggle with. For me, the truthful answer is there is no answer. Because spirit is something that goes beyond our understanding. So we can call it vibration. We can call it frequency. We can call it the essence of who we are. And those are all correct. They're all correct. Because I believe now that the only limitation we have are the ones we place on ourselves. However we perceive spirit, that is how spirit comes to us. So
okay, but I'm going to cut you off because I don't want you to give me the answer for that you think humanity would say what spirit is. Okay. I want to know what Angel Morgan thinks spirits are. You're talking to something. Okay. So what do you? There's no right or wrong answer here. I want to know, what do you think you're talking to? Are you talking to the soul of the dog, or the person, or is it what are you talking to? It must mean something.
For me, it is the essence of who we are, right? And for me, it's also, spirit is a collective. So if I'm speaking to a spirit, I'm not speaking to that individual spirit. I'm speaking to everything in the all behind it, right? So when a spirit comes to me and it has answers it couldn't possibly have when it was alive. So people who have had near-death experiences will come back and they will say that it's like nirvana. You know everything. All knowledges are yours. And when they come back, a lot of people are very depressed because it was so beautiful on the other side. So for me, they say that, all of a sudden you're part of that collective again. You're part of it and you know everything and you're part of all of it. So for me, I think the spirit is part of a huge collective. So when I tap into one spirit, I'm tapping into the all. I'm tapping into the essence of the universe. Whether you want to call it God or gods or goddesses or energy, as I said earlier, I think what we're really doing is connecting to source. So
And is that for you? Is that source religious? Is that were you raised religious in any way, or is it?
I was raised Roman Catholic.
So was
and I turned away from Catholicism for a very long time, but then I realized it was the religion I had a problem with, not the spirituality of the religion.
Sure,
and
right.
So
that's what most people do.
Yeah, and so I'm a very spiritual person, but even then, I do believe in the science of the work that we do too. Right? I'm not, for all intents and purposes, I love my work, but then there are extremes. I'm a Gemini, and there are extremes. You have those people who are extreme New Agers, right? And that's not quite my path. And so I will tell people, like, I love angel seers. And so the real angel seers, the ones I really admire, are the ones who understand that they're angels of war who work with those who are dead and dying, and they smell like war. There are those angels of death. There are those watchers. There are all kinds of angels. But the ones who drive me nuts, that you just want to are the ones that are just like, I have to connect to the angels and the vibration has to be high. I have been to some of their homes, and within 10 seconds, my head hurts. Like, it hurts. We are not meant to live on that high vibration or a low vibration. We're meant to walk all the different vibrations, right? That is who we are. So for me, I truly believe that we're meant, when we tap into spirit, to tap into all of those different levels. And the only way to do that is to tap into source. So for me, spirit is source.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
And it's like, listen, when you start talking about, like, the hermetic principles of vibration, and this is sort of a philosophy that some people have for what we're dealing with. And it is no less or more valid than any other. I like to hear where people are coming from and how they feel they connect.
Well, my thing is I'm a Gemini, so I tend to ramble. So if that's the case, please just cut me.
No, go listen, I got a couple more questions for you. This has been so great. And then I'm going to go grab my dog.
Yes.
All right. What question do animals ask you the most often about humans? And what answer do you wish you could give them that you can't?
Ooh. I find with my communications, animals are more willing to give answers. They don't really have a lot of questions because they themselves already know how their owners feel, right? They already know that they're loved or not loved or what have you. I think the biggest one that I ever get is when is if a family is moving, it's like, what's happening, right? What's happening here? A lot of animals, actually, now that I think of it, and you're asking that question, they want to be communicated with more. Tell me more about what's going on in your day, right? Like, where are you going? And so a lot of times I'll be like, where does my mom go during the day? Or are we going to go camping today? Or are we going to? So they're asking about day-to-day stuff. A lot of animals are doing a lot of day-to-day stuff. The stuff that I cannot answer for them is when there's an issue in the household, right? And I can't kind of go, like mom and dad thank you. Mom and dad are getting a divorce, right? It's like, who am I going to go with? I don't know yet, but I'm going to talk to mom about that. And how do you feel about it? And who do you want to go with? Well, I don't want to betray mom. I don't want to betray dad. I don't want to,
Sure.
Pick favorites, that kind of thing. I'm like, do you know what? I think we're going to let this one unfold. And a lot of times I'll even stay with the families for a few weeks. Like I charge per session. I don't charge per animal. And so sometimes I will turn around and go, listen, you guys kind of need me. So why don't we, save a little bit of your reading, or maybe just touch base with me next week and let's see where you're at with this animal. But talk to them, right? So sometimes, especially where divorce is concerned, I don't have those answers, right? So that's a big.
All right. I'm going to go grab my dog.
Now, before you do,
okay. What do you want to know?
I keep seeing this black dog. It's a black dog, and I don't know if it has a little bit of white in it, but I keep seeing a black dog. No, it's got some brown as well. So it's a tricolor dog. Is that your tricolor dog who crossed?
Yes. Yes. I had
that dog has been waiting to come in. And he says that, and this was a he?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. He says that he wants to come back to you, but not necessarily as a dog. And he wants to know if you're willing to bring in a cat, but a cat that's big, so like a Maine Coon or something like that. Would you be willing to humor a cat in the future?
Oh, no, I'm allergic.
Okay. That's an interesting thing in animal communications too, by the way. When people are allergic, it means that the animal themselves has something to offer that you're resisting. I've seen people who are allergic to animals, they deal with the emotional stuff that's connected to that. Boom, they're not allergic anymore. Okay.
That's wild.
Yeah, it is. So that talks about intuition. That talks about listening and dismissing nothing. So these are things that you might want to go deeper into because you yourself have that intuitive, like you could do what I do. You could definitely do what I do. This particular dog is like, okay, then in that case, is it okay if I incarnate into somebody for somebody else? So he's asking your permission to move on because he really wants to become a cat this time. So are you cool with that?
For sure.
Okay. And he says, thank you. And I think that's really what he was here for is permission. I don't know which direction to go in. So Dad, I really need you or, brother, I really need you to talk to me about that. So you've just done a healing. You've helped an animal move forward. And it's that simple. Everybody thinks it's so complex, that it's so Harry Potter. It's really very simple.
That's great. That's a fun story. That's wild.
I know. Welcome.
All right, I'm going to go grab, I have 2 dogs, but I'm going to go grab one of them.
Yeah.
Sit tight. I'll be right back.
Sure.
Let's see if we can see him. Hold on. This is Nova.
Hi. Nova or Nola?
Casanova.
Casanova.
So we call him Nova.
Nova's like, what's going on? Why am I here? Yeah. What's going on?
He's never allowed in here. So this is he's very nervous about it. He's like, why are you letting me into this
I can face like, what's going on? Why am I here? Like that's the physical tell, right? I keep seeing 2 things. The first thing I keep seeing is cheese. Cheese. And
cheese.
It's like, yeah, cheese. And it's like, I like cheese. I want cheese, please. So I don't know if you give him cheese, but that's one of his more favorite treats. Does that make sense?
We try not to give him too many treats like that.
I know, but he's just letting you know what he likes. This isn't about how much you give him. This is about, I'm showing you what I like. Please. He's like, please, just a little bit more. Like if you're going to give him a treat, that's not to say you have to do that.
Right.
You don't have to do that. He's just showing you what his favorites are right off the bat. And then he's showing me your ring. And he likes your ring. Do you know what he likes? He likes it when things, he's showing me when things, like reflections off things. It's really cool to him when there's a reflection, shadows. Shadows don't scare him. He's very intrigued by them. Okay, so just so you know, he loves shadows. He likes reflections. He likes things like that. He thinks they're fun and they're cool.
That's what he hates? Can I tell you what he hates? Cardboard boxes.
Why do you hate cardboard boxes? He goes, they smell funny. They smell funny. And he goes, and I don't want to be trapped in one. I don't want to be trapped in one. And all of a sudden, when he was little and I don't know if you know anything about when he was in his litter, when he was a baby, I don't know if he was in a box or what have you, but he just doesn't like the smell. He doesn't like the feel. He just doesn't like it. He likes his home. He likes his bed. He likes the comforts. I
know everything about this dog's so this dog, his mother was rescued from the Korean meat market.
Wow.
And then she came over and then she had 7 puppies. He was the oldest. And I got him at 8 weeks from that birth. So okay. I've had him for his whole life.
Gee, when you got him, was there a crate or a box he was in?
I don't know if I couldn't tell you if they put him in a box. The owners I know very well, and they probably would not. They probably let them run around a lot. I don't think they had them in boxes per se, but I don't know,
But it's like I see him being comfortable, but it's like I smell the box and I don't like that smell. I don't like the smell of a box. And I keep feeling like it has something to do that ties him back to his litter. And I don't know what that is. So talk to the owners. If you know them, that's a great thing to do. The other thing, his bed. Don't say anything. His bed, it's too lumpy. He says it's too lumpy. Does he have it? He has his own bed, correct?
Well, no. He sleeps in our bed. They have, yeah.
Yeah, he wants his own bed. That's what
Girl, I got a great bed. My bed ain't cheap.
But he's saying to me, he goes, I want a bed. I want a new bed. I want a new bed. I want a new bed. I think he wants his own bed. I think he wants something on the floor too, because it gets not hot, but sometimes it gets uncomfortable in the bed, and he would like to be on the floor more. And on the floor, I think getting him a bed would be a great scenario. I just had a dog recently who was nipping at other dogs. A friend of ours has a doggy daycare, so he didn't have his own space, and he got into an altercation with another dog. And I said, he needs his own space. He needs this, this, and this. She did it, and it really helped. This guy is just comfort. This guy is all about creature comforts. He's all about creature. He just loves comfort, like Dad. Dad likes his creature comforts too.
You get my headphones stuck, buddy. Okay.
Okay. What else do you want to tell me, honey? And then you get to ask questions. What else do you want to tell me, honey?
Nova, are you nervous?
He says he misses the food you used to give him. He's fond of the food you're giving him now, but there was more of a beef, like he likes beefy flavors. So I feel like there's either a beefy flavor food or something like that he preferred. That's his favorite. He's not saying you have to change it, but he is saying he liked that. Does that make sense?
Well, I can't. Yeah. Well, I had to change his food because he's got a renal issue. So I have to give him a renal diet now.
Oh. Yeah, so he's just letting you know that he preferred that food. You know, he's okay with this one, but he's just, again, he's showing you his likes. He goes, I'm taking the opportunity to tell you everything, right? He's a very smart dog. He's an incredibly smart dog, this dog. He is. And what's really interesting is
he knows how to open doors.
Sorry?
He knows how to open doors.
Like mine. So he is very on the mental level, and he's showing more and more visuals. I don't necessarily hear a voice, but I do see the visuals and I can feel him. So he's very mental, emotional. He loves you the most. That's true. He loves you the most. But mom has her place too. Mom is mom is awesome. But when it comes to, you are the alpha. You are the alpha in this home, where he's concerned. You said you had a second dog. I do. And this dog is very submissive. This dog is very, whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. Whereas this one has a very, okay, let's do it. And let me show you the way kind of thing. This one? I feel like this one, he has his own mind and he has his own way of doing things. Whereas the other one is like, look, if you want to do it, go right ahead and do it. And if that doesn't make sense, it's okay. Tell me. No, I would say it's almost the opposite. This guy will do whatever I tell him to do. And it's my other dog is like, he's his own man. So this dog is laughing because this dog is literally telling me, you're the leader, but I'm in charge. So it's like he may do, how do you want me to say this? He may do what you want him to, but part of the time you're doing what he shows you to do. And the other dog just doesn't care. That's one of the reasons I'm not really registering him, because he doesn't care. He's just like, I'm going to go do my own thing. And this one, he's the real alpha. This is the alpha. I would say that, that makes more sense. Right. Yeah. He is the alpha. This one is a quiet leader. Okay. This one is, if anything happens to anybody, this is the dog who's going to step up. Not that the other one wouldn't, but this is the one who's going to go, mess with my family. And then the other one will come and join in. I feel like he wants to get down. I'm going to put him down. He's like, he doesn't care. He's like, do you want me to grab the other one? He goes, I don't care about this conversation. He's like, literally, can I go now? He likes your music, by the way, but he likes the older stuff. He likes the older stuff. Okay. Okay. All right, let's get the other dog. Want me to get the other one? All right, sit tight. Good boy. Good boy. Ooh. Ooh. This is a very interesting puppy. This one's easier to hold. How old is he? He's about 6, 7. He's younger than the other guy. Okay. He's like, want to know his name? Who are you? Yeah, what's his name? The General. The General. It's a very interesting because right away I get an incredibly emotionally sensitive dog. This dog is a spirit level animal. In other words, it can communicate on every single level. Okay. This dog is here very specifically for you, in your energetic self. Okay. So if you were to, I don't know, go in circle and meditate. Okay. This dog is the dog that's going to hold space for you. So we were talking earlier about animals who take on our stuff. This is the dog who's going to take on stuff in the household. This is a very gentlemanly dog, really, really sweet, really affectionate. Tell me what you want. He's scared. He's just like, I don't know if I want to do this. I don't know. I don't want to. Why don't you want it? Why don't you want to? I know you're not going to get me in trouble, but I don't know what to tell you. Okay, so let's use this dog in a different way. I talked to that dog. Do you have any questions regarding this dog so he can answer the questions?
Ooh, what would I ask the general?
He's really good health-wise, just so you know. Yeah, think of a couple of questions while I do this. His tummy burbles sometimes, so there is a little bit of sensitivity there.
He's got Addison's.
Okay. Is there something going on with his ears?
No, not that I know of.
Okay, watch the ears because I keep getting something about the ears. Okay, so this might be, I don't get that it's in the future. There's something about the ears. Watch the ears because there's something, especially the left. Wait, is that the left ear? Yeah, the left ear. Just watch the ear, please. Okay. Because I feel like it's
General, what should
redness.
Ask him who's his favorite.
He's like, he gets really sad and he goes, Mom, Mom. He loves you. He does. But you're very, very sensitive and you're very emotional. Mom tends to hide her emotions sometimes, but she is such an emotional well. She keeps it in check. Right. And so I feel like that's where they connect. I feel like this dog is here for your energetic well-being. So if you were to go on my path or that kind of thing, this dog would hold space for you. But where healing is concerned, this dog is here for the healing and well-being of your partner.
What about my son? What does he think of my son?
Interesting. Okay, because there is another male in the house. That was what I was going to say next was, and I feel like there's a boy or another male in the house. He adores him. He loves to be around him. He loves to cuddle with him. Your son is beautiful. He's very in alignment. I feel like there's a really nice balance in this person. And this dog feels that emotional balance. But there are times when he gets so sad and he doesn't know how to sort himself out and he doesn't want to bug you and mom, right? So that's where it's almost like there's this conversation that happens between your son and this dog on an emotional level, right? And your son, that's a perfect way of putting it. Your son uses this dog as an emotional treasure box. So all the thoughts, all the feelings that he has, this dog picks up on. So he's lovely. Remember how I said he's spirit animal. So if you need something physical and go outside and have fun, he's going to be that. If your wife needs something emotional, he's going to be that. If it's something mental, it's going to be that. He can communicate. He's there for everybody in different ways. But on an energetic level, he's there for you. Emotionally, he's there for mom. And for son, he's just there to hold space, to be the treasure box. Okay. Your son is really beautiful. He has some really nice things coming up for him this year. And I almost feel like let him know, and the dog's going, yes, let him know that there is something coming up this summer that he's been waiting for, wanting, but it's something that thank you. It's coming in an unexpected way. Now, here's the thing. The reason I like working with animals is because humans are animals. We are mammals, but we've got so much baggage, right? When I work with kids or young adults, they're still in that place where they can communicate and connect on a very pure level. And I love that. And this is one of the reasons I love this dog in your home with this son. Okay. Whenever the boy is around, whenever your son is around, they connect really, really deeply. Okay.
All right. Angel, this was absolutely amazing.
Well, before you do that, does that make sense for your son?
Oh, I'm sorry. Listen, there are. I don't want to get too personal with about my kid on here, but there are things happening.
Yes.
That we are waiting for answers on. All good things, nothing like crazy.
Yes, and they're all so you need to let him know all of it will unfold well for him. Okay.
That is good news.
This comes through the animal.
That's wild to know. Did you hear that?
Good.
Are you a magic dog?
He is a magic dog. But that's the thing. Animals will open up the door so that I can read humans even better. Sometimes they act as a gate. And that was important for your son to know. And your dog is like, yeah, this is something important that was necessary for him to know. A lot of this and why we're here today is because that little piece of information about your son needed to come through. That's one of the reasons we're here.
I love it. Thank you for this. Well, that's it for another episode of Splintered Spirits. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, stay curious.